Hey, I want to welcome our viewers to a special podcast. No guest, but I want to give you an exciting opportunity. We are now rolling out a thing called Podcast Academy. Now, what is Podcast Academy? We all know how popular podcasting is. You just have to look at the likes of Joe Rogan, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, and the list goes on and on and on. Andrew Uberman, Dr. Peter Tias. These are people that are crushing it with podcasting. Why is podcasting so popular? Well, it's niched. It's really specific information for a targeted audience. And obviously, the better you are, the bigger the audience. So we're rolling out Podcast Academy. Now, here's the advantages for you as a business. There is 3 things I want you to understand. Okay. There's a lot to understand. There's probably some of you can relate to perfectionism. There was a guy we were talking to, my partner, Jeff Bourgeois, and myself. We were talking, and he was like 10 years in the making for writing a book. 10 years. And a lot of times it's people want to do something. It takes so long because they want it perfect. And there's progress versus perfection. So how does that relate to Podcast Academy? You just have to show up. You heard me right. Show up. That's something you can do. Now, what does that mean? You show up and I hold your hand as a co-host. So you really don't have to figure out anything. You just have to show up, and I like mentor or coach, whatever you want to say. So you're not worried about what mic do I get? How do I edit it? Where do I put it up? Who's going to listen to it? All the things that you have to figure out, which when you have to figure out those things and you're a detail person, or a perfectionist, you get stuck in the weeds. And then all of a sudden, 2 years go by and you haven't done anything. And that's pretty typical of entrepreneurs because we're in it to make a difference, but we are guarded about how we roll out things. So podcasting in 2 years, it'll be so evident that it'll be most of the opportunity, always be an opportunity, will have passed you by. So with Podcast Academy, one of the criteria is you got to get on my podcast. So I'm going to see if you're a nice person because we only want to work with nice people. Now, why is that? Well, there's not always nice people out there in business and in life. It's just the way it works. So if you're a nice person, you get invited to join Podcast Academy. And what does that mean? You show up. 2, we help you leverage a system and your time. And that's important. Systems are important and your time is important. People say, well, I'll figure it out. Well, go figure it out. It's not an easy process, but you can. Obviously, people do. And sometimes it takes you 5 times, 10 times longer to figure out. So the system created by Jeff Bourgeois is one of a kind. You have the 12-day challenge. What is a strategic partner? And how do you wrap your podcast around that? That's important because if you're going to leverage your time in a new media and be able to get your message out to the right audience, you better know how to do that. And strategic partner is critical in that. So you have holding you by the hand, being your co-host, show up once a month. You have your systems, which we already have built out. Jeff Bourgeois has the 12-day challenge. He has books on strategic partner. All the stuff is out there. It's available on his YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel, whatever you want to say. You can see golfforpete.com podcast on there and Kennesaw Happenings podcast on there and others. But the Podcast Academy that information through clientology is there. So you can either figure it out, take 10 times longer, or look at working side by side and having myself here in the Atlanta market and around the country, mentoring you, helping you, coaching you, and getting you in a niche that you will be able to communicate with and find your ideal client. So there's these things. So if you understand strategic partners, leveraging your time, not having to be a perfectionist and have it all figured out, and you can get on our podcast and be a nice person, this could be the opportunity of a lifetime because it's the future. Timing is everything. Timing is critical in anything you do. So leverage your time. Ooh, that's 2 times. Leverage your time, use a system, have us walk you through, identify your niche. You always have to have a niche, very narrow niche, the better. And so if you're interested, go to the show notes and go put your information in there. First, get on the podcast because we don't put anybody in the academy that doesn't first go through a podcast. So we can really get to know you. And we're going to shine a lot of value on you. We call it shine brighter. We're going to shine bright on your business and you through the podcast. And that enables you to be around a giving community because we work with givers. You can look at Bob Berg's The Go-Giver strategy. That's one of Jeff's more popular mentors, books, and strategies or principles. So I'm Golfer Pete. There'll be 3 things in the show notes so you will know what they are. And if you're interested in getting on the podcast and you're either a golfer or you're in the Kennesaw area, Kennesaw Happenings, go to golferpete.com. And at the top, you'll see podcast. Become a guest on the podcast. Let me get to know you. I want to see what type of person you are. Shine some real value on you and your business. And maybe then you'll be able to take another step towards leveraging your time and the system that Jeff has set up in Podcasting Academy. I want to thank you. It's been a pleasure. You can see it's getting a little cold here in Atlanta. I think it was 58 this morning. So no more golf. Well, I have a golf shirt, but it's underneath a little warmer jacket because it gets chilly, and it is chilly. Fall's coming. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being with us. And if we can assist you in your business, reach out. golferpete.com. Thank you so much.